Good day, and today on the sidelines of Yerevan Dialogue International Forum, we are hosting Kristian Meszaros, Director of Partnership and Global Affairs at NATO. Mr. Meszaros, thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you for inviting me.
Mr. Meszaros, the intensity of Armenia-NATO cooperation was significantly high. Recently, we hosted in Armenia high-ranking officials from NATO, and Mark Rutte, Secretary General, attended the European Political Community Summit here in Yerevan. And so in this context, how would you assess the current NATO-Armenia relations and cooperation?
So you're absolutely right. The Secretary General just left Yerevan this morning, I think. You had last week our new special representative for the Caucasus and Central Asia, my new boss, Kevin Hamilton, here. And then you had the Deputy Secretary General last December here. So the political relations have clearly and notably intensified. And we are in a new era of cooperation and relationship, I think. And this is driven by Armenia and Armenians' interests, but also NATO's interests. So I think we have a lot of work to do in the future. But there's an interest on both sides to reach this new era of cooperation that we're seeing through these visits.
And as you might know, and you know, I guess, that after August 8, 2025, new and unprecedented opportunities emerged in our region and within the scope of peace processes as well. So what can NATO offer to Armenia and to our region in terms of enhancing resilience and defense capabilities?
So you're absolutely right. We at NATO followed very carefully what happened on the 8th of August in the White House. And we really appreciated the Trump administration's efforts to broker the peace. And the initialing of the peace is a very important development. And I think NATO can play its part. You mentioned defense capacity building. You mentioned strengthening resilience, where this is our bread and butter. We do it through our partnerships. We've been doing it with Armenia and other countries as well for decades. But we also do it for ourselves. I come from Hungary, a country that joined in NATO in 1999, and we went through a defense transformation with the support of NATO when we were preparing for NATO membership and after as well. And I think these are the experiences that we can share further with the countries in the region, all three of them. We have been doing so in the past, and we're ready to take the next step with Armenia when and as the leadership of the country requires that from NATO. But clearly there is scope to do more between NATO and Armenia.
And the issue of including Armenia in NATO's ITTP is being actively discussing. And how would you describe this program and its importance for Armenia?
So the Individually Tailored Partnership Program, ITPP in
Yes.
NATO speak, is an agreement between NATO, the 32 allies, and a partner, whereby we define together what are the strategic objectives of our cooperation. This includes strategic dialogue, political dialogue, cooperation activities. Think of simple things like language courses, but also exercises together. So there's a lot of scope for cooperation activities. And what we just discussed, the defense capacity building, defense reform support. So this is what an individually tailored partnership program looks like. We are in the final phases of negotiating that with Armenia. You're pointing that out correctly. And I hope it will be soon agreed. And then this is one step in taking our relationship to a next level, this new era of cooperation. We, by the way, have such an agreement now with Georgia on their program. And hopefully soon with Armenia and Azerbaijan as well.
Mm-hmm. And against the backdrop of recent geopolitical developments and controversies within the NATO states, what will be the policy of the alliance towards its partners?
So partnerships, I like to think, are part of NATO's DNA. By now. We have had partnership programs with Armenia also for over 3 decades. So they're fundamental to the way NATO works and what NATO does and what NATO is. But you're absolutely right to point out that there's serious changes in our security landscape, in the international environment. There's a geopolitical competition. And NATO, as well as countries within NATO, but our partners as well, need to adapt to this shifting international environment. That does not mean that partnerships are not important, but the way we look at them now is through our core and fundamental task, which is deterrence and defense, collective defense of the alliance, and how we can help our partners to contribute to our overall security. So that is why defense capacity building support to countries like Armenia help NATO as well, because that increases security in our neighborhood and in Europe writ large. So partnerships still matter with a new focus and different focus given the geopolitical changes that we are witnessing.
I see. And what are the expectations from the Ankara-NATO summit that will be held in summer? Is there any specific outcome that NATO states are aiming for?
So there's always huge expectations before a summit. That's our main event, and we prepare everything towards that when presidents and prime ministers meet. You will remember that last year our leaders met in The Hague, and they made a historic commitment to increase defense spending to 5%, which was very defining and very important. And it was something that helped to rebalance the alliance, because the European allies and Canada decided to take more ownership and responsibility for our collective defense. So what you will see in Ankara is delivering on those promises. The 5% helps three things actually, which are the priorities for NATO. That is, of course, more spending, but more production, increasing our defense industrial production, and then also more support to Ukraine. So we need more spending in order to meet all those priorities, which we're laser focused on. And again, all of these serves our collective defense. So I think what you will see in Ankara is delivering on these priorities, delivering on the 5%, and delivering on shifting the burden within the alliance between the United States on one hand and European allies and Canada on the other.
And this is your second time participating in Yerevan Dialogue Forum, yes. And what do you think about the quality of discussions here and this platform for strategic conversations on present challenges on the present?
So I think it's really impressive. It seems like Yerevan and Armenia is becoming a meeting point. If you look at geographically, you're already a meeting point between several regions. And I think this dialogue represents that perfectly. And to look at the wide array of discussions, we'll have several different, I will be in a panel as well, but there are a dozen panels today happening. We had the President of France here today, the Secretary General of the Council of Europe. So it's a very varied, rich, and honest discussion. And I'm really impressed that this can be hosted here in Yerevan. So I think you can be very proud of yourself. And this is a good beginning these past years and for the future, for your role in this region. And again, bringing together different regions in Yerevan. So I'm very happy to be back here. And I hope to spend more time than just this conference. So I hope to see you soon back in Yerevan.
Thank you, Mr. Meszaros, for this interview and for this opportunity.
Thank you so much.
We were hosting Kristian Meszaros, Director of Partnership and Global Affairs at NATO. Thank you for watching us.